Hello everyone, this is Professor Hill, and this is a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College. This is the summer version. We're doing this in an intensive Maymester 3-week course. And we've been working our way through our textbook, Doing Ethics by Vaughn. We're up to Chapter 7 here in Week 3. Today's Tuesday, the 29th. This is our last week. And we have our last assignment that's due tomorrow, Wednesday the 30th. And those exams are due in on Thursday, the 31st. So we're right at the very end. But I did want to make a few comments about Chapter 7. Yesterday, I talked briefly about the concept of virtue that Vaughn lays out in Chapter 7. And today, I want to talk about two other concepts from the chapter that he discusses, and I think are important, especially as we look at our case study. So the first is just this concept of the golden mean. This is something many people are going to be familiar with. It's a course of action between two behavioral extremes. And so, for example, if you're walking down the beach and you look out and you see somebody drowning, you might want to take some action. You might want to help that person if you can. And it would be important to do so relatively quickly. They're in danger. They're drowning. But in terms of this concept that we're talking about and the way Vaughn lays it out in our chapter, there's a middle ground between acting too quickly, acting rashly, just seeing somebody and just jumping in without a plan, without giving it even a moment's thought. You might want to, for example, call 911 before you jump in the water. You might just want to take your boots off before you jump in the water. You might look around and see that there's some life-saving equipment or some flotation device you could take with you that might be helpful. So you might want to stop and think, even if you're still trying to act very quickly and decisively, and spend a moment or two making sure, you've done all you can do before you're taking some action. But then, certainly in terms of Aristotle's theory of the golden mean, he'd want you to act. He wouldn't say just stand there and do nothing, just keep walking by. He would say, look, there's a middle ground between acting too rashly and not acting at all. We want you to be virtuous. We want you to jump in and try to help. Again, if you can. No one's going to ask you to do the impossible. For example, if you can't swim, you can't jump in there and help them out. But if you can swim, if you do decide to act, don't act rashly too quickly. Spend some time, get your thoughts gathered, and then take some decisive action and get in there and help. That's the theory of the golden mean, this kind of middle ground between behavioral extremes. The other concept I want to mention from our chapter, just briefly, is this sense of eudaimonia. You'll see it defined in our textbook, and it's something that's a little bit more than happiness. You'll see some people talk about it as if it's happiness, but again, we're going to see that it's more than that. It's really, think of it this way, in terms of human flourishing, where every aspect of you is growing and developing to its fullest, and you're really talking about not just some momentary, fleeting happiness, like, ooh, I had a bowl of ice cream, that's great. But here, there's some depth to it, some meaning behind it. And I always think of it in terms of my sister's garden. I have 5 sisters. One of them's a great gardener. And in the wintertime, her garden is gray and barren. But come spring, she starts to work on that thing. And by summer, we're deep into the hot weather. We're having the high 90s of May down here in San Antonio. And her garden she's tending that thing. Even in the heat, she's got water on it. She's taking care of it. And you know what she's doing? She is making sure that the plants that she has planted there can flourish. And so it turns out that when you go out and see her garden now, it's deep and lush and rich, and it's green, and she's got big, she grows tomatoes and cucumbers and all kinds of stuff back there. And it's fabulous. And so when you think of your own life, when you think of, you know, what it means, what eudaimonia means, it means that not just something quick and easy and simple is happening, but really it's more like something powerful and meaningful in terms of your nature as a human being. You're really developing this. And that's something we don't always do. We don't always think about, you know, and again, it's because of, you know, the lives we lead. They're busy. If you got, you know, 2 jobs and 3 kids and you're worried about your philosophy homework, you can feel like you're already being overpressed. But my point is, if you had time, if you had resources, you know, would you spend more time, what would you spend more time doing? Is that some creative venture, some artistic, some musical? Is it about, you know, the arts and the dance and the humanities? When we start talking about every aspect of ourselves, because again, as I've said, we're complicated critters. You know, we've got emotional sides and psychological sides and physical sides and spiritual sides. We've got all these complex dimensions to us. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to all of them and developing all of them. And that's where we get into eudaimonia. It's related to being happy, but it is different. So, those are a couple of concepts from chapter 7. Again, the definitions are outlined in there. I just wanted to make a few comments about them and about how our book treats them. So, it turns out that you're going to want to spend some time finishing chapter 7, work on your assignment that's due tomorrow, the last of the discussions for our assignments, and get those finals in. Get them done. I'll talk to y'all again soon and put up another post tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.